Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new to smart rings, I just want to say that you're not alone because I myself am relatively new to this type of product. And the reason is very simple. I just never really understood the appeal or the need for something like this. But after using the Helio Smart Ring for the last 2 months or so, I think I finally get it. Really. Now, I want to start off this video by saying that I don't think smart rings are meant to be worn in tandem with smartwatches because smart rings are health trackers and they're there for people who don't have smartwatches or prefer not to use a smartwatch to track their health. So I want you to think about it in this way. Smart rings are basically health trackers without a screen. But I also don't think they're necessarily fitness trackers. I mean, they can be, but not really. And I'll explain in a little bit. So the Helio Smart Ring is owned by a company called Zepp, and the sub-brand Amazfit is basically what distributes it, along with the other smartwatches, such as the T-Rex Ultra that I own, and the relatively new Balance smartwatch. The Helio Smart Ring was sent to me for free by Amazfit along with the Balance. The Balance has been my go-to smartwatch for the last 2 months, but not because of this review. Honestly, I was kind of surprised that they sent it to me, so for the sake of this video, I'm just going to focus on the Helio Smart Ring. The Helio Smart Ring comes in a simple but premium feeling packaging. Inside, we have the ring itself, a charging case, and the user manual. The first thing I notice is how light this ring is, and that's because it's made out of lightweight titanium. It feels very premium, and I also happen to think that it looks very, very nice, and it's also very comfortable to wear. For this particular smart ring, the sensors are located here, and according to the app, it's recommended to wear the Helio on your index finger for more accurate reading. If that's not possible, you can wear them on your ring finger, but I suppose the readings won't be as accurate. Now, before I move on, I want to talk about accuracy for a bit. Now, I'm going to be sharing my real life impressions with living with this ring for the last 2 months. And because I don't have an accurate way of measuring its accuracy, everything's kind of just like based on how I feel. You'll understand in a little bit as you watch this video. So what I'm just trying to say is that when I talk about accuracy, take that with a grain of salt. Anyway, back to the Helio. Unfortunately, they're only available in 2 sizes at the time of when they sent this to me. So they only have a size 10 and a 12, and I happen to fit a 12. Honestly, I would have preferred a size bigger so I could wear it on my right hand because I would prefer to have it on this hand instead of having 2 rings on my left hand. Regardless, most smart rings that I've seen are kind of awkward looking. They're bulky, they just look too big, and they're just a little out there. And I think the Amazfit Helio does a really great job of making it look like a conventional ring. You can't even see any of the design details unless you really look closely. As you can see, there's little dots that pepper this side of the ring, not the entire ring, but just this side. And if you look underside of the ring, you'll see a small indentation, and that's basically where the sensors are. So when you wear the ring, this has to be where your palm is. That's how the ring takes accurate readings. And the funny thing about this Helio ring is that's pretty much all I can talk about in terms of its physical aspect, because most of the experience of wearing a ring like this really boils down to the app. But really quickly, let me talk about some of the things that the Helio Smart Ring can actually do. So the Helio Smart Ring can monitor your heart rate, blood oxygen level, your sleep, stress levels, and steps or activities. The way you track them is through the Zepp app, which is what you use to pair your Helio Smart Ring with. And as you can see here at the top, I have an icon of my Balance smartwatch and the Helio ring. Right here is the readiness score, and think of it as an overall score of my well-being based on the information the ring has gathered after a few nights of using it. I say a few nights because the sleep score plays a role in your overall readiness rating, and you will need to wear the ring for a few nights in a row so that it can establish a baseline of your sleep habits. The sleep score lets you know how well you've slept during the night, and it can give you insights based on the day, week, month, or even year, depending on how long you've been tracking your sleep. Sleep RHR means resting heart rate, which is the number of times your heart beats per minute while you're asleep. Generally speaking, the lower the resting heart rate when you're sleeping, the better it is. Sleep HRV is your heart rate variability, basically a measure of the variation in time between each heartbeat. And keeping track of this helps you kind of monitor your stress levels. Full recovery time is exactly what it sounds like. It basically tells you how many hours you probably need to be fully recovered, especially useful for people who train or work out on a regular basis. At the bottom of the page, you can also view your PI score. Now, PI is short for Physiological Activity Indicator, essentially an overall score based on your heart rate data and daily physical activity. But this score isn't really relevant in this review, and I'll explain in a bit. Living with the Helio daily for the last 2 months has been generally positive for me. I find that it does a decent job at tracking my sleep, my heart rate, and all that stuff. But the most important thing for me, and which is going to be the focus of this video, is mostly about sleep tracking, because that's something that I've been wanting to do for the longest time, actually years now. And I've tried wearing smartwatches while going to sleep, but I find that they're just generally uncomfortable to wear. And sometimes I wake up with, a little bit of skin irritation for wearing my watch far too long. The great thing about the Helio Smart Ring is that it's light and comfortable, and it does a good job at making me actually forget that I'm wearing it. So when I'm sleeping, it just stays there. Amazfit says that the Helio can get up to 7 days on a single charge, but I suspect that that's having just the basic of tracking enabled. If you look at the app, you can see that I have all the possible tracking features for the Ring turned on. This significantly lowers the battery life to about 2.5 days in my experience, which in truth isn't so bad since I have the Balance smartwatch to continue tracking the part of my day. And this is why I mentioned earlier that I don't think the Helio Smart Ring is really meant for tracking your fitness. I mean, sure, it can to some extent, but it doesn't really know whether you're running or you're lifting weights, unlike a smartwatch where you actually tell it what you're doing at that moment. Plus, when I'm lifting anything in general, I don't want to wear my ring because, for one, it actually hurts, and second, it's going to damage the ring if I'm lifting anything heavy. So for fitness tracking, I actually prefer using my Balance smartwatch. And for sleep tracking, I use my Helio Smart Ring. And this is why earlier I said that the Pi score isn't really relevant in this review of the Smart Ring itself. So quality of sleep is something that I've come to appreciate now that I'm in my 40s. I used to be able to function normally with only 4 or 5 hours to sleep at night. And as of late, I'm noticing that that's really not what my body is looking for. The problem was I couldn't find anything that would help me track my sleep that is actually comfortable to use. And this is where the Helio Smart Ring really shines. By tracking my sleep, I'm teaching myself to be more mindful. I use my phone a lot less at night because I don't want my brain to be overstimulated. And over the last 2 months, I've increased the hours and quality of my sleep and have noticed a significant difference in the way I feel the next day. I'm just much more alert during the day and eager to actually exercise, which just improves every other aspect of my life. In essence, the Helio is like a carryover device from my regular fitness tracker like the Balance. And I know that may sound underwhelming or maybe even a little bit disappointing for some people. But to be honest with you, I love this ring so much that I just can't leave my home without it. The only problem is I just don't want to oversell it because it does have some issues here and there that I feel like could be improved. First and foremost, I love how quickly I've adapted to wearing this ring. I know that sounds a little silly, but putting on something new and keeping it there for the entire day, even when you're sleeping, is actually not easy for everyone. And that just speaks to the lightness and comfort of the Helio Smart Ring. I also appreciate how nice it actually looks. It's a bit bigger than a conventional ring, but doesn't scream smart devices. I like that it does a good job of what matters the most to me, which is sleep tracking. Each time I wake up, all I have to do is open up the Zepp app and it'll tell me details of my night's sleep. I've corroborated this information with how I've felt in the morning for the last 2 months, and I find it to be pretty accurate. And again, when I talk about accuracy, take that with a grain of salt. And what's interesting is that I've had instances where I was watching a movie or playing a video game, and the app would actually send me a notification, and it would essentially say that it sensed a mood swing, and it would ask me whether it's excitement, whether I got sad or upset or something like that. And you can log it in if you want. It basically paints a picture of your overall well-being, which I think is very, very useful. There was one incident where it just randomly asked me if my mood changed, and I thought that was kind of weird, but it only happened once so far. So generally speaking, I think this ring knows me well enough to know if I'm doing okay. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I can give any higher praise than that. The other thing I like is that there's no subscription required to use this device. There are some additional services that you can avail through the app, such as the Zepp Aura, which is basically an AI coach, but honestly, I never felt the need to avail of those services. Battery life, I think, is also a strong point, even though it falls short of the 7-day estimate. And the reason for that is more personal, thanks to my daily habits. because I work out every day. And so at one point each day, I basically charge this and take the balance because I can't work out with a ring and I can't tell the ring what type of workout I'm doing that particular day. But what's great is that the Zepp app shares the same data between the ring and the watch, meaning I can still keep track of all the essentials, whether I'm using the ring or the watch. But probably the biggest pro for me is the price, because for something that does not require a subscription service that can be this comfortable and attractive while remaining fairly accurate with decent battery performance, this makes the Helio Smart Ring an easy recommendation, especially for someone who is very new to smart rings, i.e. myself. And believe it or not, it actually gets better because if you're in the market for a smartwatch, you can actually go on their website and you can buy a bundle package, basically the ring with a smartwatch, making this ring, if I'm not mistaken, the cheapest smart ring that you can actually get. But it's not a perfect product, as I feel like there are no perfect products out there. First and foremost, the lack of other ring sizes. Amazfit did say that they're going to bring more sizes out soon. I just don't know when. Now, this ring is water resistant up to 50 meters, so you can technically swim with it. But when temperature changes, your body also expands and shrinks. And when your body shrinks, this ring tends to move around and rotate. And when the sensors are not aligned with the palm side of your index finger, then it's not getting accurate readings. And this is also true when you're running. Because of the ring's simple and conventional design, it actually tends to rotate when it gets a little cold or when your hands are wet. And that means that you're constantly checking whether your ring is in the right orientation. Otherwise, you're not getting accurate readings at all. Lastly, I think the app could do a bit of a refresh. Generally speaking, I think it's okay to use, but sometimes finding specific settings isn't exactly the smoothest experience. Also, it's crashed a couple of times on me. I mean, not a lot, but enough for me to actually need to mention it in this video. I really like this product. It's not perfect, but for what it is, for the purpose of tracking my sleep and just general information of my health and my well-being, I think it's a great product, especially if you consider bundling this. It's just perfect for me, for my needs. Whenever I work out, I switch to the balance. And when I'm at home, I use the Helio Smart Ring. And the plus side to that is I get to wear any watch that I want. And this is why I understand the appeal of smart rings now. I can choose between different watches to wear each day without losing the benefits of tracking my health. If you're in the market for a smart ring, I highly recommend you check out the Helio Smart Ring by Amazfit. Anyway, I just want to say thank you again for watching this video, and thanks to Amazfit for sending me these two products to review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys again very soon.